Episode number 43. I hope I got the numbering right. I think I did. I think I did. Episode number 43. Unexpected ways to get marketing inspiration. So this is a kind of a fun one. Obviously, if you're into ecom, if you're into online business, marketing is a huge, huge part of that. It's kind of like the main thing for most situations, I would say. As such, it's pretty important to be good at marketing. Pretty important to be keeping your ear to the ground and always looking out for inspiration. I think that's really one of the most important things. And I think we've talked about this in a previous episode, the concept of kind of becoming a student of the game. Putting inspiration in front of yourself and just always being on the lookout for it is one of the best ways I think that you can become a student of the game, because it's something that if it's something you're always thinking about, it's something you're always looking out for. It's something that's always top of mind. You're probably going to be pretty good at it, and that's kind of the whole point of this. So we just want to talk about like some weird ways that you might not expect. Like obviously there's like normal ways to get marketing inspiration, looking at what competitors in your market are doing, how they're advertising, looking at their ads, reading old school sales letters, just studying any sort of really like advertising or marketing material. Those are all great ways, but those are kind of more direct, less, less weird. So that's what we wanted to tell you guys about, some great ways that you can kind of glean marketing inspiration, learn marketing kind of just by keeping your eyes open, just as you go about your life. And it's kind of fun. It's definitely more enjoyable than just like sitting down and reading a book, I would say. So here are some of the ways to get marketing inspiration that are a bit unexpected. I think one of my favorite ones, and I do this literally every time I go to the grocery store. When I'm in line, I read the headlines of all the tabloids. Like I don't even know what the brands are, like People Magazine, maybe, the National Enquirer. I know that's one. You know what I'm talking about, like the crazy, aggressive, like celebrity tabloid stuff. Um, the headlines on those are really, really great to study because they show you what gets people's attention. Because you got to think about the context of like a tabloid. It's sitting at a grocery store, another store, whatever, and people are only going to buy it if what they see on the cover is like really, really attention grabbing. If it's something that's really, really key, and I think like the main thing they're really trying to do with these headlines on these tabloids is drive curiosity. And I think another really great thing that tabloid headlines are good at, not just the main headline, but also all the other little sub headlines about all these, what's on page 7, this and that, is they're really good at keeping them very concise and very hard hitting, because there's just not a whole lot of room on the front of a tabloid to print that much text. So they have to get really, really concise and use the least amount of words possible, which is really, really helpful when it comes to writing any sort of marketing or advertising material. That's like a principle. You want to be extremely concise, only use as many words as you need to, no more than you absolutely need to. Take a look at some of those next time you're in the grocery store and see if you can kind of analyze them and see what kind of emotions they're trying to hit on. I think really for the most part, again, it's going to be they're trying to drive your curiosity. Especially the ones that are geared towards older women with like weight loss stuff. You'll notice a lot of those are like, XYZ celebrities tricked for dropping 60 pounds in 2 hours. They're like crazy, ridiculous, aggressive headlines. Take a look at those and see if you can kind of figure out how you can apply some of those things to what you're doing, because it does take a little bit of brain power. It does. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not just, you're not going to read a tabloid headline and copy and paste it and put it on your freaking, on your store and use it in an ad. But if you can use your brain a little bit and, figure out how it applies to what you're doing, I think that that's definitely a very helpful thing to do.
For sure, for sure. That's such a classic tip. Like some of the big copywriters have talked about that. Don't ask me who, but the Halberts and all those guys, Ben Savenga, they've talked about studying tabloids, and it works. Those tabloid writers, they know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Anything that appeals to the masses, like the absolute masses. So think of like the most popular movies of any given year,
Yeah.
the most popular books. Like most people don't like reading. People have short attention spans, yada yada yada. But then a book like 50 Shades of Grey comes out and has all these fucking women sitting reading 600 pages of whatever. So what happened to their short attention span? Well, what happened is whoever wrote that knows how to tap into the desires or the feelings, the emotions of the masses. And if you can study that, that's going to be a great help for your marketing.
I think that's a great tip. I think the first place I heard that was either from something I was reading from Gene Schwartz or Claude Hopkins. And I want to say it was a story that Claude Hopkins was telling about someone that he was like kind of mentoring under when he was first getting started or something along those lines. I could be wrong about that. But he's basically saying that this guy reads every single best-selling book. He watches every huge TV show, every huge movie, just to be tapped into what the common man is enjoying, what they like to read, what they like to watch, what really like pushes their buttons, what gets them to pay attention. I think that's a really, really great insight.
100%. And I think your boy Ben Settle probably does that too. I don't know if he's talked about it, but he has a lot of movie references in his stuff.
Yeah, he does.
I would be surprised if he doesn't use that tactically as well.
Yeah, I think he also talks to I've seen him talk about the tabloid things, and I've seen him talk about the National Enquirer and how like just reading that is like a better marketing education than most like marketing courses, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yep. It's those things that nobody, like if you ask people what newspaper they read, like people will say the New York Times, but then the National Enquirer sells way more than the New York Times or whatever.
Yeah.
No idea if that's true, but that's like one of those things marketers say.
For sure. And I think kind of piggybacking off that, like another great way to get marketing inspiration is just by watching great movies. Really like, we kind of just mentioned this. Any movie that's super mainstream, that's like a classic movie, I'd say even if it's an old movie, maybe especially if it's an old movie, see how they put together the storyline, the plot, see how they hook you in the beginning of the movie to get you to be really interested and want to keep watching. I think that that's a really great way, especially like I think that could be really applicable to any sort of long form sales material where you're kind of writing out, like, it's not just like a straight sales pitch. There's like a storyline, there's characters, blah, blah, blah. I think that could be really, really helpful.
Yeah. Again, this stuff isn't directly applicable. So
it's kind of like things you can do in your free time, like that aren't so boring and like straight studying.
Yeah. It's one of those things, I don't know. Like I wouldn't tell people to go watch movies if they want to learn marketing. But if you're watching a movie anyway, and you're going to be watching that movie no matter what, and reading sales letter is not a viable alternative in your eyes, at least try to dissect what is going on. Don't just be a mindless consumer, but try to dissect what they're doing, because there is so much going on. And if you're not in the movie business, or you're not a storyteller or story writer, whatever, you don't see most of what they're doing. You don't see a lot of the brilliance.
And everything is done, even down to the tiniest detail in any movie. Like everything is done super intentionally. Nothing is done by accident.
Yeah, but again, you kind of have to be in the business to see all that stuff. But if you start focusing on it, I think you'll start to notice patterns that you can learn a lot from.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I think that's a really solid thing. Like you're going to be doing these things anyway. You may as well be framing them from a marketing perspective so that you can glean some insights from them instead of just, like you said, being a mindless consumer. Another great one that's a little bit more modern is looking at the YouTube titles and thumbnails of videos that have like millions and millions of views. Obviously, the video content itself is very important when it comes to how many views a video gets. But another huge part of it is the title and the thumbnail. And if you look at someone like Mr. Beast, for example, like one of the biggest YouTubers ever, he does his titles and thumbnails very, very intentionally. And the goal of those is to get attention. It's to get you to click. And even though it's not like marketing in the traditional sense, it still is marketing. I mean, it very much is marketing. And if you kind of take a look at those, you can see, I think you'll start to see some patterns, and you can kind of point out, okay, so this video has 30 million views. That's an insane amount of views. Why does it have so many views? Well, let's look at this title and thumbnail. what are they doing in the title and thumbnail that might draw people's attention? And then you can kind of think about that consciously. You can write it down if you want to. But just again, if you're going to be on YouTube anyway, you may as well be thinking of it from this perspective because it's going to be more helpful to you than not.
Yep. I bet that one's close to your heart.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the YouTube titles and thumbnails are something that's, I don't think it's easy. Like, I really don't think it's easy to make a really solid title and thumbnail because you got to find the balance between like something that's clickbaity, because really clickbaity stuff just doesn't, I don't think it really works that well anymore. I think people have kind of caught on to it. But at the same time, you still got to make it like good and interesting and something that people want to click on. So it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, and then a lot of that can be applied to Facebook ads.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one of the more directly applicable ones.
Definitely, yeah. For example, one thing I've noticed people do on YouTube is they'll have the title be one thing, and then the thumbnail is almost like a secondary title. It's almost like a different angle on the same video. And you could definitely apply that to a Facebook ad where the thumbnail on your video ad or even your image ad entirely is almost like a secondary headline, a second way to hook people in if the first headline doesn't do the trick.
Yeah. I think that is a great insight as well. I mean, besides that, I think those are really the main ways, like just kind of going about your life when you're not, it's late at night or whatever, and you're not really trying to like study marketing. You can still kind of do it in a sort of passive sense by just keeping your eyes open and keeping your ears to the ground. I think that's really like the key thing. I think that's why, people like our buddy Kobe Gatsby, like why he's successful is because that's what he does constantly. He's always doing this with literally everything. And it works. It works.
That it does, Schmitty.
All right, folks and folkettes. I think that'll close us out for episode number 43. We'll see you guys in the next one, episode number 44. You get what you shoot for. You get what you shoot for. We'll talk to you there.